Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's Paul Greenberg here. I'm the founder of the Nora Network, and it's my great pleasure to introduce our panelists today and a very, very interesting conversation ahead. So thank you all of you for joining the webinar today. This is an interactive webinar, and a little later, Teresa Locke of our digital team will talk you through how, if you haven't attended one before, you can get into the conversation. But first order of thanks is to our terrific expert panelists today. We've got Stephen Bradley, who's on board as the marketing strategist APAC for Oracle and Bronto, and Marius Kreening, director of Olympic, currently working out of Hong Kong. So greetings, Stephen and Marius. Thanks so much for joining us and for your support of the network.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having us.
It's great. I was saying a little bit earlier that I was chairing a conference yesterday and someone else read out my bio, and it certainly sounded like it had been written by my mother. So I won't do the same thing to you, Stephen and Marius. If I could ask you to tell us a little bit about yourselves. So perhaps let's kick off with you, Stephen. A little bit about your role at Oracle Bronto and a bit about your background.
Sure. My background has been in client side, looking after marketing and digital teams. And what I do for Oracle is I look after the Bronto product for professional services in the APAC region, helping clients with their marketing and e-commerce strategies, getting the most out of Bronto and using the automation that's available and helping them meet their revenue goals.
Excellent. I see somewhere in your career you were in charge of Oz Lotto and ran the $120 million jackpot. I sure wish I'd known you then.
Yes, and I got to meet two of the people that won that jackpot, and I'm still jealous. So.
Yeah. Send me their numbers. Terrific, Stephen. Well, we'll hear a little bit more about what you're up to and in today's presentation. Marius out of Hong Kong, sunny Hong Kong. How are you doing? Tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about Olympic.
Sure, yeah. So I've been with Olympic for just over 2 years, previously based out of London. With Olympic, we essentially work on content solutions, visual content solutions for brands all around the world, headquartered in New York. And I have the pleasure of leading our Asia-Pacific expansion. So yeah, this year moved into Asia-Pacific, and with that, the move to Hong Kong as well.
Terrific. And I see you've had a bit of a background in the startup world. I'm looking at the terrific pictures of you and Stephen, and of course I'm confessing I'm in a tie. Maybe Stephen is in one too, but I think you chilled there, Marius. Tell us a bit about some of those startups you've worked on.
Yeah, sure. I had the pleasure to work with a business angel from Silicon Valley a while back, and that sort of gave me the introduction to the startup world. And when you come from there, then I think you take the day-to-day work approach or office approach a bit more casual than the other way around. So yeah, taking it casual is probably a good way to put it.
Way to go, way to go. Teresa Locke of Nora is flying the plane as always. I don't know what we'd do without you, Teresa. If you could take through some of the attendees, a little bit of how we'll be running today.
Okay, Paul, thank you. And thanks everyone for being here with us today. On your screen, you'll see a screenshot of the control panel that looks similar to what you should have. And in there's a questions pane. So anytime you feel like asking a question, please do so, and I will endeavour to get it answered for you. All right, thank you.
Terrific. Well, just a quick opening note from me. I know it was the great Bill Gates who many years ago said content is king, but I certainly understand over the last couple of years that's been challenged, and I hear increasingly that context is king. So I'm really excited to hear a bit more about contextual commerce and how it enriches the customer journey. So without further ado, Teresa, I'll hand over to our esteemed panelists today.
Cool. Thank you very much. So just going through the agenda, setting the agenda for today, we're going to start with a little insight into the buyer's journey and how that's changed over the last couple of years. Then I'll be handing it over to Stephen to then run through great examples of email campaigns that actually drive revenue. and how earned content as part of the Autopic suite actually feeds into that and can support that. And lastly, hopefully closing with 3 key takeaways that I hope will be beneficial for everyone. We do have the agenda point of the Q&A, but I think we agreed before as well that we'd be happy to take questions throughout as well. So yeah, if we're starting with the modern buyer's journey today, traditionally, specifically in marketing, and when thinking about marketing campaigns, there was this linear thinking of we need to start with making people aware of our product, of our brands. People consider buying it and purchase it, and so forth, all the way to advocacy and running specific campaigns that promote that. How that has changed today, and specifically with the digital world that we live in today, is that actually people today don't follow that linear approach anymore. Consumers increasingly jump into sort of brand conversations and brand channels no matter where they are across that consumer journey. So you might find somebody posting something amazing, advocating for a brand on Instagram, just off the back of having heard from somebody else or having seen a photo that the brand posted somewhere else that they find truly amazing, without actually having purchased something before. So what you see is that actually this linear approach does not necessarily apply anymore, but you have people visiting your website. Some of them might still be looking for inspiration. Some of them might come there to check out the latest things for the loyalty program and so forth. What that means actually for brands is that consumers today actually expect more and expect the personalization from the brand experience. So if I'm on if I'm visiting the brand website and I am currently looking for inspiration, I expect to find that kind of content on the website. If I've already visited your resort, or if I've already purchased that product, then the kind of content that I would expect there is different. That means, on the one hand, the pressure for brands increases to have that clean data, to be able to actually identify who's looking for what. But at the same time, also to have that large volume of content available that allows you to personalize every single kind of experience that you're creating. And there are statistics that actually support that. People are actually choosing brands where they find that personalized experience over the ones where they don't, or where they feel more like a number rather than a person. And the main driver for that is the mobile phone, of course. Like so many things today, we do check our phone an average of 150 times a day. I'm not sure, I haven't counted, but I reckon I'll probably be a part of that average, if not more. And when you look at that, we do purchase things, we do research things, we try to find the location, and actually one of the things that is up by 17% year over year is email engagement on the mobile phone. So that actually emails become a more important part of this user engagement strategy for brands as well. And with that, I would hand over to Stephen.
Thank you, Marius.
Do you have the control?
I am clicking, and there we go. Thank you. So in this survey, generally consumers don't find marketing blast emails that useful. Only about 15% found them beneficial. So that's a general rule of thumb with blast emails, is they don't contain a level of personalization, and email marketing is the most effective way to get to your consumer base if you have that personalization. So a recent study by Marketing Sherpa found that 70% of people still prefer brands to communicate marketing messages via email, and SMS was about 19%. So consumers want to get emails from brands, but they want to know They want brands to know who they are and what they want. So first of all, let's look at acquisition. So this is a transactional message. They can be used for acquisitions very effectively. What's great about these emails is that you're already doing them, so you don't need to add them to your email calendar. Even better is the form of communication that's generated by the customer events rather than the marketer. Types of email, transactional emails can be order confirmation, shipment confirmation, account sign up, returns requests, or back in stock items. With Bronto, we have what's called a socialite app, and that allows you to connect to Facebook audiences. It's a great way to use your existing segments to build lookalike audiences. For example, you could build a segment of new users in the last 30 days, or even better, new users who have purchased. This way you can send that segment automatically to Facebook. And we also have API integration to other social media platforms as well. So pop-ups or email sign-ups, homepage overlays that come up on your site are still the most effective way to grow your list. This is an easy and effective tool for marketers to use that only involves your development team at the very beginning. With our pop-up tool, you can optimize this for mobile or desktop, and you can also add a ribbon so it's compliant with Google. You can do A/B test or a trigger test, and you can also, don't be shy to ask for form information as well, such as birthday or zip code that will help with segmentation later on. I always suggest to my client that you start with a welcome series. It's a great way to build engagement as soon as the customer is signed up to your email marketing platform. This series introduces new subscribers to your brand and gives you the opportunity to tell your story and highlight the key value propositions. Typically, for a full welcome series, I would suggest the contacts should be suppressed from receiving promotional messages while receiving the series, so that it just allows them to be focused on what you want to talk about the brand, and they don't get confused with the other blast messaging. In terms of best practice, you can also put in incentives into a welcome series. So in this particular one, they are giving an incentive of 10% off. In our region, the Australian region, we see more of giving away free shipment, but in the US and the UK, it's either an amount of money or a percentage off the full checkout. So in terms of conversions, segmentation is probably one of the keys. It gets your messages to be more relevant. And segmentation or segmented emails outperform blast emails every day of the week. Customers today demand that retailers provide relevant content at the right time on the right device of their choice. It helps reduce list attrition, lower unsubscriber rates and complaints, and help with inbox delivery. Clark saw a 22% increase in email engagement just by segmenting by gender. Cart recovery is probably still one of the biggest revenue drivers in email marketing for the majority of our clients that use the cart recovery app. Cart recovery accounts for about 10 to 25 or up to 30% of monthly email generated revenue. The key with cart recovery success is to keep your copy short, have a clear call to action, and don't forget to add your value adds down the bottom. World Kitchen just launched on Bronto recently and had over 2,000 abandoned carts recovered in just 3 months. Here's Johnny Waz's example of a cart recovery. Very high open rate, great click-through rate, and it converts. In terms of retaining, post-purchase series give recent customers a positive brand experience and hopefully generate additional conversions, loyalty, and word-of-mouth advertising. Thank you coupons, cross-sell, upsell recommendations, especially product care and customer service information are all great themes in this series. This is a great example of a post-purchase series that you brought a tent and they've sent you an email congratulating you on the new tent, giving you further advice as to how to maintain or how to set it up, and then some additional product information that goes with that product. And you can also optimize your transactional messaging with that follow-up as well. Lapsed purchaser messaging or re-engagement messaging is also part of the post-purchase series. Segment your contacts by people who have purchased but have not opened your marketing emails for the last 6 months and send them a targeted offer to re-engage them. It's always easier and more cost-effective to win back a customer than try to obtain a new one. Now I'll hand back to Marius and he'll be able to click a lot quicker than I can. There's a bit of a lag there.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Definitely, so some great insights in terms of the emails that drive revenue, as part of what Stephen said before as well. Personalization there, definitely key. The question, and then looping and back to the introduction, is the how can actually brands now create that personalized content at scale? In essence, when you have all these different target audiences for all these different kinds of emails, how do you get enough good quality content and engaging content to really optimize the experience? So this is where Olapic can then help drive up the efficiency around getting content. So the point that the content is actually has been shared by customers and fans and users of the product, where the Olapic platform then makes it very efficient to source all of that content, to acquire the rights for that content, and to then distribute that content automatically into your targeted channel. So, for example, the Bronto emails. At the same time, we see that this authentic earned content actually outperforms brand content in a majority of the times, just because those photos are photos of other real people. If I see somebody that looks like me or somebody that I can relate to wear a certain product, that actually has a higher influence on my purchasing behavior than if I just see a model shot from the brands. So the performance of those pieces of content actually is higher than brand content as well. Plus, I just mentioned it as well, the relevance of that content, where in these personalized messages to the consumer, you can simply add more relevance by integrating content that the receiver of that message can actually relate to. In essence, if it's female, 20 to 30 years old, make sure or customize the content that it actually shows female or young female photos around that product, which then again helps you to drive up or to optimize that opening rate of the email as well. Plus, of course, the importance is to get the relevant insights to understand which kind of content performs best in which context, and optimize the content placement just like you would optimize the channel that you choose to reach your consumer. And we've run multiple projects around that in partnership with Bronto as well. One example is we work with a hair care brand that incorporated their customers' content, their consumer content, into their cart abandonment emails. So if a user was on the website, put something in the cart, but then left the site for whatever reason, the emails that they then received off the back of that then included user-generated content that actually related to the customer profile and the product that they were looking at and actually had added to cart. This type of content then added the relevance to the email, which led to a higher engagement rate on these emails, and ultimately led to a higher conversion rate, 89% higher conversion rate than the emails that were running without the user-generated content, and ultimately drove more revenue, 71% more revenue than the emails without this earned content. We do generally recommend for brands to then take that even further. So NYX Cosmetics, part of the L'Oreal group, for example, is integrating that earned content not only in emails, but actually when you interact with NYX Cosmetics on the website, you might look at a product in a certain color, the lipstick in a certain color. You see how do other people apply that product or use that product, or the other way around. When you're looking for inspiration, what kind of looks can you create with what kind of products? All of that works on the basis of authentic content. How do other people actually do it? And then they go even one step further. I've seen that here in Hong Kong. In Singapore, I've heard that NYX Cosmetics might also be coming to Sydney, or opening their store soon in Sydney, where I'm sure that this will be integrated as well. Essentially leveraging that earned content in store as well to have that same engaging experience across all different channels. So if I receive an email from NYX Cosmetics, it should have the same relevant content as my in-store experience. And NYX Cosmetics actually sees that this benefits greatly as they are able to realize a 320% higher conversion rate from customers who interact with that user-generated content, as well as a higher average order value of those customers. So all of that and a lot more case studies leads to the sort of general convention that well, 90% of those using earned content are seeing measurably positive results from their campaigns, as reported by WBR back in 2016 already. So,
Marius, can I interrupt with a question?
Sure, yes, please.
Thanks. From Liana, would you consider testimonials and reviews as good UGC in emails?
Testimonials and reviews. Well, that's a good question. Generally, the short answer is yes. It of course depends on the relevance of those reviews to the context in emails, and specifically when you're talking about emails and the consumption on the phone, it is you have a very short time in which the user sort of needs to receive that content and feel something positive that drives them to click and react to the email or not. A lengthy, super detailed product review, for example, would probably not add up to that purpose. If you have 3 photos in there of customers that really have an amazing experience with the product and beautiful products, that is actually giving the user the positive experience associated with that email that they that features a certain product that they were interested in and so forth. So that might actually add value to that. Does that answer the question?
That sounded good. Thank you.
Cool. So the key takeaways for brand success, I think in summary, yeah, I think this applies, and hopefully everybody on the call can take away. The importance really is to think about adding that context. What do my customers or the receivers of these emails like in that specific content? If it's a retargeting email, if it's a cart abandonment email, if it's my general newsletter, to really understand where in the purchase funnel they are, who you're talking to, and then to contextualize the message that they get with compelling content. I think the three main takeaways there are: nothing works perfectly, from day one. So it is really a process of testing and learning and applying new content. At the same time, you also see when you use the same content, whether it be brand content or the earned content, it doesn't last forever. And this is one of the reasons why brands are typically struggling to have that content at scale, because in a month's time, people will have already seen those photos or videos of yours. So the engagement goes down. There's a certain ad fatigue in there as well, or creative fatigue. So the point here is to be constantly testing out new content, what works well, getting these insights and optimizing off the back of that, getting the fresh content in, mixing it in, and again, testing and optimizing off the back of that. The other part is, in order to have that constant channel or constant feed of fresh, good performing content, and the one that actually relates that positive message to the audiences, it is important that you actually build that trusted relationship with the audiences, with your consumers and customers, so that they actually see, hey, the brand actually recognizes my contribution. They like my photos. They appreciate that we sort of work together. They appreciate me as a customer and me sharing the positive experience with them. And ultimately, and then it's about connecting the dots across the buying journey. So if you are depending on where in the purchase funnel you're targeting the consumer, what channels you're using, making sure that it's all seamlessly integrated and one system knows what the other system does. With that, we would have time allocated, I think, for Q&A. Teresa, should I hand over to you, or?
Marius, there's nothing in at the moment, so we might give everyone a minute to think of a question.
All right, great.
Terrific, and thanks, Paul, jumping in here. Thank you for a nice and snappy presentation, Marius and Stephen. I think we covered some good ground. And of course, to our attendees, while you get your questions together and pop them over to Teresa in the chat box, remember this webinar is recorded, and we'll top and tail it and brand it, and we'll distribute it to you. And feel free to obviously send it through the organization. We'll also go into the knowledge bank on the Nora Network site. And yeah, of course, those people who weren't able to attend the webinar today will also get a copy. So we'll just give it a little bit of time.
Interesting question from Amy. Could you please give an example of what UGC would be good to use in store?
Sure. Yeah. I love that question. I love the in-store integrations, because that sort of truly goes into the area of, well, how does online affect our offline purchase behavior? Again, it depends on the integration within the store. NYX Cosmetics, I think, has done something quite unique and fascinating. Their setup includes that you have a tablet within the store and a product scanner attached to it. So as you scan a certain product on that tablet, it loads the user-generated content that is actually associated with that product that you scanned. So that gives you this highly relevant content to then share on that show on that screen, that the user can then even filter down further. So depending on your skin tone or hair color, you could even filter that content that you see further. Now that's a very specific context, and of course for that you would want to have that large pool of a varied type of content. For general walls, as in walls behind the counter or in the shopping windows. I think there it is really important to show the content of or that relates to the consumers that you know or think you know is the majority that would walk past that store over there. So the one that grabs the attention. So if there's an Adidas store that knows, okay, this is an area where a lot of athletes are running around just after their workout, then showing the authentic content that is actually showing other athletes might work very well there. Whereas in a mall that is more known for fashion shopping, the fashion type of content might be smart to show in that window. So again, that it really depends on the context of the store itself.
Great, thank you. And a question from Liz: how many emails are too many? What is the attrition rate if you over contact?
That's a good question. It really depends on the industry and the results that you get. So users are very good at giving you instant feedback if you start to your cadence is too regular. But yeah, I would definitely suggest talking with the rest of your marketing managers at your organization and come up with some sort of calendar that throttles at least a user only receiving 2 to 3 forms of communication, of marketing communication a week. I think that's a good level, but again, it really depends on your industry and what products you're sending.
Thank you, Stephen. Any more questions, anyone?
Going once, going twice. We'll give another minute or so, and then I think if no more questions, there'll be a wrap. I think it was a pretty punchy prezzo. We've covered a lot of ground. So last call, everyone.
Okay, I do have another one. How do you get people to engage with your brand if you only have a small following to begin with?
Nice question.
Yeah, I think you can answer that actually from both perspectives. Maybe Stephen has an idea in terms of excuse me, the email strategy and what you can potentially do in terms of the email cadence there in order to grow that. Just from a content perspective, I think some things that some brands might forget. You actually do have a lot of people within the business. They are people themselves, and especially the younger generation. We grew up with Instagram and so forth. So it's very likely that actually within the business you would find people that are passionate about being working with you and working on the things that you're working on. So that could be an initial source or actually part of that growing source of content contributors. Then beyond that, it is less about the following that you've established on social, but more about how active you become with it. So again, we have the example of a specialty retailer in the US that is more targeted for a niche audience in terms of fashion. So it is not addressing mass market at all. But what we see there is, specifically because it's niche market, people who shop there, they receive a post-purchase email that encourages them to share their photos, to share their styles back with the brand. And because it's such a niche product proposition, we actually see a lot of contribution there, and the community being a lot more active than a mass market approach. So even with a smaller community, you do always see those people who love contributing and who actually contribute more. And as you start to seed out that content, feature it on the homepage, feature it in the gallery, feature it in your print campaigns, or featuring it on billboards. All of that shows to other people as well. Hey, wait a second, they're actually showing other people's content. How can I get involved? So it's really more a question of that rather than your own social following.
Right, and I have a question from Russell. What's the best way for a new online startup to build an email database?
Wow, okay. I'll try and look through that scenario. If you're a new online-only startup, I would definitely have incentivized pop-ups on your site as a must. So it could be free shipping or get 10% off when you sign up. I would also run a hefty amount of competitions through social platforms that drive through to your email marketing platform. And I would get really good at segmenting and personalizations. That can be part of your value proposition for your brand, is that you really understand your customer, and that will generate word of mouth and also increase your list that way. Yeah, apart from that, you're going to need some money as well to do a bit of advertising.
Thanks, Stephen. I think that's all, guys.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much to all the attendees who listened in. I see we don't have emails up on the screen, but drop any of us at Nora a line and we can send you Stephen and Marius's details. I'm sure you wouldn't mind. Oh, there they come. So there we go. We've got Marius from Olapic's email up there, and Stephen Bradley as well from Oracle and Pronto. There is always a little survey at the end, so just before you run away, this will only take a few, 30 seconds to fill in, probably not much longer. That will come to you shortly. So on behalf of everyone at the Nora Network, and of course to us, very special thanks to Marius and Stephen. Thanks to you all for joining. Have a fantastic Wednesday, and see you at the next Nora Nibble. Thank you so much.